Ian's gone, so I can talk about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Let's go solo here, solo shot. All right, people. Star Wars: The Last Jedi is the sequel to Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. What did Pat think? I enjoyed it. I thought this was the first Star Wars movie since maybe Empire Strikes Back to have a set of balls. This was not your typical Star Wars movie. This did a lot of different things, not just plot-wise or structure-wise with the narrative, but also with the characters. And this will be spoilerish. This will be spoilerish. So, what you need to know before you see The Last Jedi, or if you saw it, the movie can be summed up in the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes. When you're on that island that looks like it's off the coast of Scotland, there that Luke Skywalker's on there, and Rey comes up to Luke Skywalker and hands the lightsaber, his lightsaber that was missing, to Luke, and Luke looks at it, tosses it over his shoulder like it doesn't matter, and that's pretty much the audience's experience going into this. Your expectations about what's going to happen, throw them out the window. What does Luke say in the movie? This is not going to go the way you thought it would. So, The Last Jedi is a movie about your expectations being different than reality. It's a movie about failure. It's a movie about disappointment and how to deal with that. And I think that's what the audience is experiencing right now. Disappointment that the movie hasn't gone perhaps the way they thought it would, or this isn't what they thought would be their movie. For example, the character of Luke Skywalker in this movie is depressed, he's bitter, he's had failure in his life that he has to account for, and to a lot of people, that's not what they thought Luke Skywalker should be. Well, first of all, you're not controlling the character. That's up to a bunch of other people that spent billions of dollars to gain control of the character. But second, we're looking at a jaded old Luke Skywalker that secluded himself for a reason, and he's been different versus the character he was 30 years ago. So the best characters change over time. If you find it difficult to square this Luke Skywalker with the one in Return of Jedi, I understand that. There's a lot to be unpacked with a character that you thought was a certain way when you watched when you were 5 versus when you're 35 and all of a sudden the character is totally different and gone in a different direction. I understand that, but characters need to grow. They need to develop. Han Solo in The Force Awakens was the same exact character for the most part that we saw at the end. And that can happen in reality. You can be the same person you are at 65 and 35. But for Luke Skywalker, it was a different path. And I understand why they did that. It made sense. It explained more of the backstory of Kylo Ren. So I don't have a big problem with that. There's some complaints about subplots not going anywhere or not mattering. For example, the one with Finn and Rose. They try to get a safe cracker to help them. At the end, that doesn't really matter, their plan. Sometimes heroes don't always work out as heroes. Sometimes they fail. Sometimes their actions don't matter. I applaud a movie, especially one as big as Star Wars and one that's a big crowd-pleasing blockbuster. I applaud them for taking risks in that fact. I applaud the fact that Poe makes a bad decision and fucks up. I applaud them going out on a limb and basically doing something to throw the audience off their game. Because that's basically, we remember Empire Strikes Back being beloved as still probably the best out of all these Star Wars movies. And when you look at Empire Strikes Back, there was a lot of risks taken in that movie throughout the entire structure. Luke messes up. He makes bad decisions. Yoda comes out of nowhere. We find out that, Luke has a father, and it's Darth Vader, which is a shock to the audience. Before that, Vader was just written and thought of as just some fucking lackey. You go back and look at the original Star Wars, no one, through the writing or direction, you wouldn't think that Vader was anything more than just a fucking big stooge that worked for Tarkin. And that's probably how it was originally conceived, to be honest. He was just the guy that slaughtered Luke's dad. They changed him to be Luke's dad, and they got to change that the same way they had to change Leia being, Luke's sister, even though originally there was no plans for that to happen. So, a lot of stuff like that has gone on with Star Wars, trying to, rewrite history. But this was an enjoyable movie. I think a lot of the complaints you see have their roots about just, I guess, the shortcomings of what you can do with Star Wars in general. There's only so many stories you can tell before it gets old, with guys fighting each other with laser swords and space battles, because that's really what every Star Wars movie comes down to. It comes down to two people facing off one-on-one with a lightsaber, and you got to put them together somehow. You have to go through all these weird lengths to put two people together to fight, or 2-on-1, whatever. Or at the same time, you got a fucking massive space battle going on to destroy a huge super weapon / super giant planet type structure that's going to destroy a base or destroy a planet before you can stop it. And that's almost every Star Wars movie that's come out, with the exception of two now. Those two being The Empire Strikes Back and The Last Jedi. Besides those two out of 8, right? Well, no, I'm not really counting the prequels. I guess. No, even with the prequels, you have them blowing up a big base in the first one that they have to blow up. And Attack of the Clones, which to me is the worst one, that's a mess. And Revenge of the Sith is a plot to kill Jedi. Let's throw out those prequels. Those are a weird side story on their own. Okay, out of these 6 movies, 1, 2, 3, 4, out of these 5 movies, there are, 3 Death Stars, right? 3 sort of Death Stars out of 5. So they got to change it up. So I get that. I love the fact that, spoilers, Rey's parents are nobodies. That's fine to me. Anakin's his mother was a nobody. We don't know really what the father was. That's a weird story. Was it something magical with the Force impregnating Shmi Skywalker or whatever? That's weird. Sometimes heroes come from nowhere. There's a lot of little hints in this movie about that being a theme, about, you're a nobody. I mean, Finn is a nobody, stormtrooper. Doesn't really have a real name that we know about. He's nicknamed Finn, right? Small heroes. This is the shedding of the, at this point, unnecessary Skywalker saga that should end. If you want to say Star Wars is all about the Skywalker saga, then at some point you're going to run out of steam. I don't want Rey to be a Skywalker. I'm fucking over it. I'm over it. I'm over the Skywalker saga. It should end. So, and that's what this movie's done. This was, if episode 7 was a nostalgia, soft reboot where they make sure they pleased everyone, this was not. This was, fuck what you saw in episode 7. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to kill off most of the rebel resistance, which they kill off like 95% of. We're going to kill off Luke Skywalker, and he goes out. Well, he has his moments. He goes out, and we're going to start afresh, and we're going to kill off and change the underwritten characters from episode 7, like Snoke gets killed off. Pretty good scene. I don't give a shit about Snoke's backstory. Remember, when you saw Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, there was no real backstory that you knew about to the Emperor. It was just some weird ass guy in charge. Same with Snoke. Get rid of him. Not interesting. It's not. It's about Kylo Ren's development, not Snoke. Not interesting to me at all. Just isn't. And I think that's the problems people saw. It's like, oh, I wanted to hear more about Snoke. Well, tough shit. He's gone. But now this is the freedom. Because before this point, you knew exactly how episode 9 was going to go. You were going to get some sort of redemption with Kylo Ren, taking down Snoke. You were going to have them blow up another Death Star. You're going to have another happy ending. Now it's almost like the slate is almost clean, where you almost can't predict to a point where episode 9 is going to go, besides them taking down the First Order. That probably is going to happen to some extent. But you don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know who the leader is going to be. You don't know, hey, maybe Rey goes to the dark side in episode 9, and maybe Kylo Ren turns good. Maybe they do something there. You don't know as much. Of course, I can just be spitballing here. So I enjoyed this movie a lot. Was it perfect? No. There's some minor plot holes here and there. I think there's pacing issues. They probably could have shortened this movie by 10 minutes easily. Did I have to see Luke drink alien titty milk? Probably not. I thought it was a little weird to see that. Could have been more training with Luke? Sure. There could have been more scenes of Luke training. There really was nothing with him really wielding a lightsaber. But I think they're done with fan service now. This movie has a lot of balls to do what the audience did not expect, and I applaud them for that. Because if this was another episode 7, where it's like, yeah, this is fun, but more fan service. Let's see every other minor character. Like, it's surprising how little in this movie, how little R2-D2 there is, how little C-3PO there really is. Admiral Akbar's killed after a single line, and he's killed off screen. Nia Num still exists though, because you gotta have him for some reason. But no, I like I said, I enjoyed it. The only thing I would probably say about it is that I fucking love, spoilers, the fact that Yoda comes back, and it's not the shitty prequel, dumbass, warmongering, flipping around toad Yoda. It's the wise, sage, yet goofy a little bit, humorous Yoda from Empire and Return of the Jedi. It's the Yoda that we grew up with. It's the Yoda that was missing from the prequels, where I was scratching my head like, this is not Yoda. The Yoda that says war not makes one great. That's the Yoda I love, not the fucking General Yoda telling the clone troopers where to fight. That's not Yoda that I like. I never needed or wanted to see Yoda with a lightsaber, and this was not that Yoda. This was the nice Yoda. And they used it. They used a puppet, at least for the close-ups. It was puppet Yoda. It was Frank Oz in there, hand up Yoda's ass, doing puppet Yoda, and it was fantastic. So I applaud that. I like the fact that they threw out. I wonder if J.J. Abrams knew they were going to throw out a lot of this stuff. Knights of Ren, nowhere to be seen. That is interesting because I'm not sure they're going to bring that back in episode 9 at all. Or that was just something they're not going to tie up, that they thought, oh, that's a bad idea. We're not going to talk about the Knights of Ren anymore, helping out Kylo. That is something to me I think they could either address or talk about more. Other than that, I don't think there's a huge amount for me wrong with this. Again, there's only so much you can do with the Star Wars story. There's only so much you can do. So if you feel that they could have done something better, I'm really curious to know what they could have done differently versus what we haven't seen in 8, 9 other movies if you include Rogue One. What other type of story have you not seen at this point, or that you could possibly see with these sort of characters out there? How many different types of X-Wing versus TIE fighter fights can you see? By the way, to me that was a big highlight of the movie, was the first opening space battle. It was pretty suspenseful, with Rose's sister making a cool sacrifice. That to me was sort of one of the highlights early on. And then Rose's character herself could be developed a little bit better. That to me needs some work. But there you have it. There's my review. For Star Wars: The Last Jedi. If I had to place it on my Star Wars scale, it would probably be third. Empire, New Hope, Last Jedi. That's how I would mark it on my list. And then right after Last Jedi, you probably, on a good or bad day, it would be, maybe Jedi can make it just for nostalgia over The Force Awakens. But I love Han Solo in Force Awakens, and in Return of the Jedi, looked like he didn't want to be there because there was nothing written for him in Return of the Jedi. So there you have it. So, Ian, you can come back in now, buddy.